Hello, and welcome to a FortiWeb video on API Gateway. In this video, we'll explore the API Gateway feature, which enforces access control through API key verification to ensure only authorized users can access your APIs. Configuring an API Gateway requires three core components. First, user management involves creating API users, assigning unique API keys, and enforcing role-based permissions to restrict access to permitted resources. Second, security enforcement applies API key verification to authenticate requests from specific user groups, while rate-limiting rules prevent abuse or system overload by capping request volumes per client. Finally, URL-specific configurations allow exemptions. Certain sub-URLs can inherit distinct rate limits or bypass default rules entirely, ensuring granular control over traffic policies. This structured approach harmonizes security, scalability, and precision in managing API interactions. Let's take a look at examples of the API Gateway feature in action. In this example, your API is set up to allow access only to authorized users with valid API keys. Each user belongs to a specific group, each with its own rate limits and access permissions. User group A is allowed to access /API/v1/data with a rate limit of 100 requests per minute, while user group B can access /API/v1/reports, but is limited to 50 requests per minute. If a client sends a request without an API key, or an invalid or revoked API key, FortiWeb validates the API key against a list of authorized keys and blocks or allows the request accordingly. In our second example, an attacker sends a request with a valid API key but attempts to access an endpoint that their user group is not authorized to use. For example, a user from user group B tries to access /API/v1/data. FortiWeb checks the user group associated with the API key and verifies if the group has permission to access the requested endpoint. If not, FortiWeb blocks the request and logs the violation. In our third example, an attacker or a misconfigured client sends a large number of requests in a short period, exceeding the rate limit for their user group. FortiWeb enforces rate limits based on a user group. If the rate limit is exceeded, FortiWeb blocks further requests from that user and logs the violation. Lastly, an attacker attempts to access a restricted sub-URL that is not allowed for any user group. For example, try to access /API/v1/admin. FortiWeb checks the sub-URL against the access control rules. If the sub-URL is restricted, FortiWeb blocks the request and logs the violation. By leveraging these features, FortiWeb ensures that only authorized and well-behaved clients can access your API, providing secure and controlled API access. So to sum it up, FortiWeb's API Gateway gives you full control over who can access your APIs and how they use them. With API key verification, rate limiting, user grouping, and built-in enforcement actions, you can ensure your APIs stay secure, well-governed, and protected from abuse. Thank you for watching.